Faviger, commander of a frigate. Faviger had the reputation among the fleet as a bully and a tyrant, faults that might have been overlooked if he had been a good officer and sailor. He was neither, however. He was the kind of man who built himself up by publicly tearing down others. He took pride in speaking his mind, which meant being rude and offensive.
Faviger is fortunate that dueling is forbidden, or he would spend half his time on the field of honor,
one captain had confided to Thomas. Faviger's fellow captains disliked him not only for his sneering remarks, but also because he had obtained his posting solely due to his wife's connections. She was sister to one of the lords of the Divine Brisée Gardien, the Rosian equivalent of the Freyan lords of the Admiralty. Thus it was with extreme displeasure that Thomas found himself seated across from Faviger, with Philip opposite him. Captain Dag Thorgrimsson of the Dragon Brigade was seated at Thomas's right. The captain grimaced as Captain Faviger settled himself.
"Bad luck for us, Your Highness,"
said Captain Thorgrimsson in a low voice.
"Favi will be in rare form today. He fought a battle yesterday and actually won. Although from what my dragons tell me, it was a bad business."
Thomas was surprised to hear the man speak so forthrightly. He did not know Captain Thorgrimsson well, but from what he had seen and heard of him, he liked him. A former mercenary from the nation of Gundar, Thorgrimsson was now the commander of the Dragon Brigade. He had been recommended to his post by the brigade's previous commander, Stefano de Guichen, and had received his promotion from King Renaud himself. He had been unanimously approved by the Dragon Brigade's Council of Arms. Thorgrimsson was well liked and highly respected both by his fellow officers and by the dragons who served under him. Thomas was interested to hear more, but their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of the soup. The captain on Thomas's left asked him a question about the Astaran Navy. Thomas had served in the Astaran army, but he knew enough about the Navy to reply. Then another captain wanted to know details about the Battle of San Estefan in which Thomas had fought during the war with the Bottom Dwellers. Discussion of the battle carried them through the soup course. The sailors served the fish course, and the talk turned to the scourge of yellowjack, the virulent fever that was the curse of these islands. The disease was often fatal and could ravage a ship. Yellowjack ended when the meat course was being served. As Thorgrimsson had predicted, Faviger took the opportunity of a momentary lull in the conversation to brag about the battle he had fought.
"I fired a broadside that knocked down the pirate's mizzenmast," Faviger began. "After the ship had struck her colors," Thorgrimsson interjected. "You fired on a ship that had surrendered." His voice was deep and resonant and carried well. Everyone heard his accusation, and a hush descended, save for the head of the table where their host, Admiral Charbonneau, was bitterly complaining about the difficulties of storing his best claret in the Aligo's heat. "Pirates deserve no such consideration, sir,"
Faviger stated. He was lean, tall, and raw-boned with an underslung jaw. He drank heavily, but always appeared perfectly sober.
"The men you sent to the bottom were not pirates,"
said Thorgrimsson.
"They were privateers, men holding letters of marque from Freya." "One and the same,"
Faviger said with a sneer. He added with a shrug,
"We make allowances for you, Thorgrimsson. We would not expect a man of low birth such as yourself to understand the complexities of naval warfare."
Thomas was shocked by the insult and waited for Thorgrimsson to challenge the man on the spot, dueling laws be damned. Several of the others looked shocked as well. There were a few mutterings, but everyone waited to see how Thorgrimsson reacted. Laying down his knife and fork, he wiped his lips with his napkin, then said calmly,
"Even a man of low birth knows the meaning of honor, sir, or more particularly the lack of honor."
His fellow officers smiled, and several nodded. Philip looked across at Thomas and mouthed the word, "Touché." Faviger flushed an ugly red. Throwing down his napkin, he started to rise from his chair. He was interrupted by Admiral Charbonneau. Notoriously obtuse, the Admiral only now was aware of the conversation.
"Eh? What's that you're saying, Captain Faviger?"
Charbonneau called out.
"Talking about the pirate you sank? Damned good work. I read your report. The fiends put up..."